All right, all right. We're a couple minutes early here. Waiting for some people to get on. Making sure everybody can hear me out there. A little bit better connection tonight, I hope. I'm hardwired instead of on Wi-Fi. And as you can see, I have a different scene today. Pretty cool. Um, yeah, so this is the first live stream from the new and improved collection room. So this behind me, don't pay attention to any of it because none of these statues are in any place. Sweet Tooth. All right, you can hear me. Awesome. That's great. So yeah, I've been having like all kinds of audio difficulties and stuff for like the past 2 or 3 live streams. So hopefully we get this one licked this time. Being hardwired, now, the only thing that could probably happen is if the power goes out. Because it looks like it's getting ready to storm. Hi, my wife. Hey, Daryl, how's it going? So my wife hasn't made it home from work yet. She's been in this new position of hers, and she's been working hard. I'm very proud of her. Hi, Jack. How you doing? So we'll wait for a few people to get on here, I guess, before we get started. But yeah, I have been working quite a bit today in getting the room situated, and I've been doing a lot of moving stuff around. So I don't know if you can kind of see it off in the glimpse over here a little bit, but if I could turn my computer around a little bit, give you guys a glimpse of the paint area. Ooh, check it out. So I'm not done with it by a long shot, but I moved a lot of stuff today and I'm tired. So awesome. So yeah, so the Achilles behind me was a ARH Studios piece from like years back when they were actually making really good stuff. And I've got Leonidas, the first one that they released. I've got Spartacus, I believe. Yeah, Spartacus. I got him. I got Leonidas down here. So I'm really into Greek mythology. I really love those pieces. And unfortunately, ARH isn't really in business anymore. They really kind of got off track when they started making all these sexy siren, whatever you want to call it, all these goddesses and stuff and all these other female characters. And I think they had money trouble, and I don't think a lot of people really got into them. Peter, how you doing, sir? Awesome, awesome. All right, so well, tonight's topic is basically what do you need to get started with 3D printing? Because I think a lot of people getting into the hobby are kind of, I wouldn't say misled, but really don't have an idea. A lot of them see what other people have and they automatically think they got to go out and buy everything that those people have, and that's really not all that true. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. I am solo tonight. Don't have any guests anticipated on coming on or anything like that. So we'll go through that, and we'll talk a little bit about the room if you want. I actually finished filming up the next video today, and I will probably start editing it after the live stream is over. Absolutely. We'll go through that. We'll answer some questions and everything. Paul, hello. How are you doing? So anyway, so with that started, I know a lot of you guys are probably not new to 3D printing and everything. So this kind of goes to you. I mean, you can kind of give me your take in the comment section if you want to as well. But there's a lot of things I think that people don't need, that a lot of people are pushing on others and stuff like that when it comes to 3D printing and painting, and for that matter. So we'll talk a little bit about both. So, of course, the first thing you need is a printer. And what I'm going to say about a printer is do your research and get something that you know that you're going to have for a long time, because it is expensive when you first get into the hobby. I mean, by the time you fork out money for the printer, for the resin, for whatever else. You might want to get some new FEP sheets and stuff like that. And then you got to get into paints and stuff like that. But even if you don't paint, you're just doing 3D printing, we're talking about a lot of money up front. So to make it simple, to kind of dumb it down a little bit, the worst thing that you want to do is get a printer that is not going to grow with you. And another recommendation I have is when you first get into it, don't buy the first, don't buy the biggest thing out there, because these things are slow. It's like the bigger they get, the slower they get. I mean, who's with me here? I've got some printers here, man, that just take forever to print. So, by all means, you want to get something like if you're wanting to do statues or whatever, get something that's big enough to do that. But I mean, you really don't need to get into like 1/3 scale and 1/2 scale printing statues from the get go. I mean, if you want to, that's fine. But I mean, I think you kind of have to crawl before you can walk in this hobby. So do your research with the printers. Get a reliable one. Look at reviews. Look at what people are using and everything, and have a success with and everything. And when you get it, again, continue to do your research and everything. And just there's a whole, we can go into a whole other topic about what you need to do when you first get that printers. But we're not going to do this on this one. We're just going to talk about the bare essentials and stuff. Second thing that you need basically is resin. And that's a big thing right there too. That's almost as important, if not more important, than your printer. Because if you go out and get some of this stuff like Z Mud, I've used that stuff and its name says it all. You just want to make sure that get what you go with a reliable brand name. So yeah, he bought the Hellet Light, kind of huge, and he loves it. So that's awesome. But look at resin. I'm a big Sunlu user right now because it's inexpensive and it does really good. I've heard a lot of people like it as well. I heard some people that don't like it, that say it hadn't had much success with it. But I've used Elgoo. I haven't used Soraya Tech very much. I've used the Elgoo stuff. I use the Anycubic. But look at your resins and stuff, just make sure you're getting good stuff to start you out with. Because otherwise, if you don't, then you're going to wind up having a lot of failures and you just want to get out of the printing hobby altogether. And you don't want to do that, especially after you go out and spend $400 or $500 on a printer. Now, if you're doing the FDM route, I would say go as big as you can, to the point to where, like if you want to make cosplay stuff, getting into like a smaller Ender 3 Pro, that's a good printer, but it's not going to have a big build volume for you. And even if you're doing resin printing and you're printing like bases in FDM, get you something kind of good size. I mean, that way you don't have to cut it up into smaller pieces and stuff like that. So, it is what it is. So let's see here. Let's see. I was about to go for the Saturn II, but this Uniformation is pretty strong contender. Any thoughts between the two? So I have the GK2, and I like it. It's really nice. It's a good mid-size printer. I don't know too much about the Saturn. I'm one of the few people out there that haven't really used a Saturn. So I hear a lot of great things about it. But the one thing that sold me on the GK2 is the heater. I mean, is the resin heater, the vat heater, whatever you want to call it. It keeps the temperature consistent. I mean, especially if you're printing in a weird climate or whatever, you want those consistent temperatures. And I haven't had any failures out of it yet. I haven't printed in a little bit because I'm moving stuff around, but I really like it. It's easy to use. It comes set up with, when you first get it in, it's basically plug and play, fill it with resin and go with it. It's got some neat features. The one thing that I don't think I mentioned in the review was it's got internal memory. So whenever you hook up the drive to it, whenever you hook up the zip drive to it or whatever like that, and you can actually download the file onto, there's like I don't know if it's a hard drive or memory or whatever like that that's in there, but it'll actually keep it on the printer. So that way, when you take the drive out, that is still on there. Every so often you have to go back in and you have to kind of cleanse that out a little bit, and delete everything on there so that way you can put more stuff on there. But that's a pretty neat feature. I really like that. Um, see, what did Peter say? Started with a Creality LD2, small and cheap, but it's done the job. Growing out of it now, though. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Then when you get into choosing a printer, I mean, you don't want to go for the biggest, but you don't want to get the smallest. You want to get something that you're going to be pretty comfortable with for a little bit. And I would say probably about a year, because they're always using like I mean, they're always bringing out new technology and stuff. So something that you can, something you can look into. Sweet Tooth says Tennessee climate is weird as hell. Yeah, it's been crazy here. I mean, it's like one day you use the heater, the next day you use the air, the next day you use the heater, the next day you use the air. So it's crazy. Daryl says, I want to get a large scale printer, but not sure which one yet. To look at them, man. I mean, there's so many coming out there right now. The Hallett, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Halo, Hallett, or whatever. I've seen some reviews on that thing, and it is it looks pretty good. It looks like it's got some pretty good features on it as well. So definitely. So see, inexperience with frozen printers. So actually, yeah, I have the Frozen Mega 8K here, and it's a beast. It's like the equivalent to the Brock Lesnar printer. I call it the beast incarnate. This thing is massive, and I'll be doing a review on it here relatively shortly. So stay tuned for that one. Batman Rod. Good evening to you, sir, but you got the name wrong. Anywho, oh my goodness. Paul says, Anycubic X2 having really good luck with. That's awesome. With the M3 Max, I just had all kinds of trouble with it, but that's, I've my Photon Mono X's, I wouldn't trade for the world. I still use them and abuse them. So those things worked really well. And they're on the cheap right now, so you can pick those up. Let's see here. Sergeant says he has a Hallett and an LDO6 006, both really good. Awesome. There you go, Rod. Mr. Petty. That's correct. Oh, let's see. Bubba Six says you purchased Saturn S a while back and it has worked flawlessly. So absolutely, there you go. This is what I'm talking about. Doing your research. I mean, listen to what people are using, look what people are saying that's doing really good for them, and take note. So if you're looking to get into the resin printing side, I mean that's one way to do it. So I'm going to get into that here in a minute, Daryl. We're going to talk about that. So we've talked about the essentials: printer, resin. I would say another essential, not necessarily right off the bat, is some spare FEP sheets, or FEP, as some people call. Hello, Jerry. How are you doing? So you're going to need that eventually. So I would say go ahead and get some of that, because you never can tell starting out. You can make a mistake, poke a hole in it, in your FEP, or you could, start leaking resin or whatever like that. You just want to have that on hand. That way you don't run into any problems with your printing and stuff. And the thing is, if you check your printer every so often, I'm not saying you have to check it after every print. I'm sure in the beginning, if you're like me, when you first started printing or whatever, I mean, I was checking mine like every print, like every couple of hours or whatever. I was just really looking and double checking and everything, and making sure the stuff was printing right. So I mean, that's kind of the newbie syndrome, I guess, when it comes to printing. So I mean, it's just you want to just double check on everything. Jack says, just ordered the LG Neptune 3 Max to go with my two new Jupiters and Saturn 2. Man, Jack, you have the hookup. I want the Neptune 3 Max. I just saw that it came back in stock, and ill timing right now, so I had to pass up and wait for it later on. But that's a pretty massive thing. Um, Chili cheeseburger. Did I say anything wrong? Not that I know of. This is your first post I've seen. Now, I will tell you guys that if you say something kind of out of context or whatever on these live streams, the mods will block you, kick you off, or whatever like that. So everybody be civil. So Bubba says, I would also highly recommend a cleaning curing station. Takes a ton of extra work and stress out of the hobby. This is true. However, it's not a necessity. But if you're using standard resin or ABS resin, you do have to use some IPA. So you will definitely have to have some sort of container. Excuse me. Look at that. You definitely will have to have some type of container with IPA on there so you can wash your prints. If you're using water washable resin, you still have to have a container in order to wash your prints off. You will have to have gloves. You don't want to be handling resin and stuff without any gloves. So make sure that you're definitely getting some of that. Other things that you'll need a UV light. UV light. You'll have to cure your prints. And that goes with whether you're using standard ABS, water washable, or whatever. You'll have to have that. So I recommend getting you a pretty decent size one. I think you can get those for $30 or $40 on Amazon. Keep in mind also, I do have affiliate links below in the description too. So that way, if you guys see something that you need down there, I use a lot. Everything that's in there, I've used, so I can stand behind it. So let me see here. Calling you weirdos. I'm looking after spending money on massive amount of statues and seeing your videos about 3D printing. Well, you come to the right place, sir. Good to have you aboard. Good evening, Mr. Hernandez. How are you? A few other things I would say that you would need is, of course, eye protection. We're talking safety stuff now. I mean, I got kind of the two basic things out of the way, and I want to talk safety because that's important. So gloves, some type of eye protection, some type of respirator, things like that. Look into it. You'll need like scrapers and things like that. However, when you buy your first printer, usually it comes with a box full of that stuff. Usually they even send you some gloves, some masks, things like that to kind of go with the printer. But you would definitely need to get other things. You're not going to have, you're going to be limited on what they send you. So you want to make sure you have other stuff on hand. Jerry, you are correct. You will need sunshine for some big stuff once in a while. So that's what I do with my larger prints. If like some of the stuff that you guys see me print, I have a big tub that I made into a curing station. I did it on the cheap, just lined it with aluminum foil. You can get like the smaller UV lights if you want. But every now and then I have some big prints that I need to get cured, evenly and everything. So I just stick them out in the sun when the sun's out. And here lately, it hasn't been all that much. Um, so yeah, it's it's one of those things where you definitely want to make sure that you are um, being safe and getting everything that you need on that. I'm kind of looking over here and just I'm doing this off the fly. Also I didn't have any notes. I worked up until like the last 10 minutes before I got on this live stream on this over here. So you guys, I cut it close. Respirator, definitely I would say use a respirator, especially when you're cleaning stuff. The one thing that I have run into is I don't get the smelly resin like some people do. Some people talk about how horrible it is. It does smell, but what really smells is when you start, washing it with the IPA and everything. That's when that smell for me really kicks in. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, it's crazy. Peter says, I use IPA is crazy expensive in Australia and impossible to buy from in bulk. Any other solutions that you could recommend as an alternative? I use denatured alcohol. I don't use IPA because you're right, it's crazy expensive. Even here in the U.S., if you start buying it in pretty good amounts, I mean, you're running into a lot of money, and that stuff is, you got to switch it out every so often. I mean, it depends on how often you print. I use denatured alcohol. I get it for like 20 bucks a gallon at Lowe's. So that's what I've been using for a few years. Works just great. Hello, Steve. How are you doing, sir? Another question. What program is best for a beginner for 3D printing? I use Box. If that's what you're talking about, if you're talking about a slicer, they got a free slicer. It's really intuitive. It's easy to use, user friendly. I mean, and I use it. I use the free version. I don't pay for the. You can buy. They have a paid version, but I don't use it. Lychee is another one. Some people really love lychee. I don't. I just never use. I've used it a couple times. I'm just so used to Chitu Box. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, sort of thing. So I'm going to stick with that one. Felipe, how are you doing, sir? Thank you, Jack. My wife says it's all smelly, which it is. I mean, it's resin, alcohol, everything is pretty stinky. So, um, which leads me to believe to show you guys. Well, I can't show you, but I have an extraction system that I'm about to hook up in here that I'm going to use for a paint booth. I'm going to be doing a video on how you can use the same extraction system on your printer. So yeah, you can use that. So that's cool. My audio is randomly cutting out once in a while. Crap. Sorry, guys. I can't switch to another mic. But it's probably just this microphone. I just got kind of one of these little cheapy mics here. I need to invest in a better one. So we talked about the printer. We talked about the resin. We talked about the supplies that you would need, like the spare stuff, like FEP, FEP. You'll need, I would say, definitely invest in a screen protector. It's not an essential, but if you want to make sure that your printer's not gonna get resin all over it or whatever, so I would definitely invest into something like that. Again, it's just smart. Most of well, I wouldn't say most, but some of your printers that are coming out these days actually have some sort of screen protector all on it. So absolutely. Um, let's see a couple of other things. I mean, you're going to need some sandpaper. I mean, things like that are essential because you're going to have layer lines of swirl marks of some. You're not going to get a perfect print where you're not going to have any of that. So little things like that, something to sand with, polish with, whatever you want to call it. So definitely, I mean, you're going to need some sort of cleaner. I had these amazing paint wipes over here that were given to me. These things clean up really, really good. Like if I spill paint or resin, it picks it right up. But you definitely need stuff like paper towels. Absolutely. Um, so yeah, blue shop towels are really good. La, 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 la. Filters, yeah, filters. You're going to need filters to strain your resin, especially if you have a print failure. If you have a print failure and you're dumping resin back into the bottle, definitely strain it because there's all kinds of chunks of dried resin and all kinds of stuff that could happen that can get stuck in there, and you definitely don't want that going down on your screen with your build plate hitting that screen on that. It's going to put divots, it's going to put dimples and stuff like that, and even probably a hole in your FEP. So definitely look into strainers. Again, all this stuff I got affiliate links in the down below, so there's tons of stuff like that for you guys. We're going to get into that in here in just a minute, crew. Um, Steve, of course, Steve says he found his car keys in his vats. Only you would do that, man. So you guys have to understand how Steve is. Steve is Steve. Yes, Harbor Freight paint strainers are great and cheap. Yes. I got, I think like 500 or it might be 200 or something like that for like 14, $15 off of Amazon. And they've lasted me for quite a bit. So I'm still using those, still going through those. And even like if you order some resin and stuff, some of those companies will actually send you a few strainers. I know Sunlu does. So this every bottle of Sunlu that I've ever gotten, I've gotten, strainers with them. So um, definitely check that out. Um, I mean, there's other things that you can get, but I mean that's for the necessities. I'm blanking here. Help me out, guys. I mean, when you talk about printing, you're talking about, the printer, the resin, the strainers, the safety equipment. Um, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Um, Jerry says you can use Rain-X on the FEP to help with the suction and everything. So I don't use Rain-X. I've just never had that problem. I've never had the problem with it, just sticking so bad to the FEP to where it just pops off. I know some people have though. Have I tried applying decals to add details? Um, Decals to what? If you're talking about like models and stuff, yeah, I've tried, doing that stuff before and everything. Sometimes it works good. I'm not a big decal person. Um, let's see. I have a gnat here that's driving me nuts. That's why I keep scratching my nose. This thing keeps landing on me. Uh, so Bubba here. Bubba says I cut the metal screen of filters to use for airbrush paint filtering. I guess you could do that, yeah. Let's see here. Silicone spatula to wipe the vat out. You need to do that. Yeah, so that's what I was talking about. The little goodie box that you usually get with your printer. They usually send you stuff like that. But if you don't have one, you're definitely going to need some sort of spatulas and stuff. And yes, so absolutely. Let's see. Extra spray bottles for water and alcohol. I would not say that that's necessarily a necessity, but yeah, I mean, that's something that I use spray bottles for water and I don't use any spray alcohol. Well, I use some spritz when I'm doing some painting. Yeah, I take that back. Um, so yeah. So other than that, I mean, those are kind of the basic essentials that you would need for printing. Now, what can you get? That's a whole nother realm. I mean, that's a whole nother live stream right there. So, I mean, what would you need for painting? First off, you need paint. You don't need the most expensive paint. You don't need to go out and buy every color of paint. A lot of what I use is all mixtures of, just colors that I get from Vallejo. Um, I use anything from Vallejo to Mia to Golden, and I even use a cheap craft paint sometimes. So I mean, don't let somebody tell you that, oh, this little 99-cent bottle of paint is hogwash. It only is if you just like don't know how to use it. I mean, in other words, just you gotta research how to thin this stuff. How to apply it. Properly, and you even have to do that with the higher end paint. So I would definitely, just look into buy what you use. You don't need to go out and buy every color by all means. I still got colors over here. When I first got into getting all this paint and stuff like that, I thought I was going to use this stuff. And realistically, there's probably like 20 to 25 colors that I use when I'm painting, and that's about it. And I probably have about 200 bottles of paint. So you really don't need to go out and just run out and buy all that stuff. Um, so yeah. So if that's another feature that you could probably, did you see that gnat just run across here? I swear I'm going to kill that thing. So yeah, that's one thing that I would look into in a printer too. And Steve makes a good point. Something that has a vat cleaning system in it feature, because that's so much easier rather than trying to scrape all that off the bottom of the vat. I mean that you're going to run into problems. I mean, you're going to poke a hole in your vat and your FEP and all that. You definitely want to do that. So look into that as well. Um, so let's see. Joseph, Mr. Childress, how you doing, sir? Rain-X works okay. I switched to using 3-in-1 FTP FE lubricant and have eliminated the problem with sucking FEP problem. I've heard that. Again, I don't use any of it. I've heard both that work really, really good. So if anybody else has any luck with it, let me know in the comments. Uh, yeah, Bubba, you are so right. Learning the color wheel will save a lot on paints. Um, Believe it or not, I still got my color wheel that I bought years ago because that is the best tool ever when you're mixing paints and everything. A lot of people want to know how they get certain tints and shades and stuff like that. So, yeah, absolutely. I would say that, yeah, the gnat is probably causing my mic to spaz out. Am I still spazzing out on the mic here? Um, So yeah, what about getting extra parts to have on deck? So that's one thing that I talked about earlier was, having like different, more FEP. I know like there's some people that love the fact that they can have an extra build plate on hand in case something happens to there. Um, but that's just I don't know, an extra build plate's a little touch much. I don't think you really need to go out and do that. If you want to, I mean, that's kind of up to you. But um, the mic does go out once in a while. I'll make sure I'll have another mic next time, guys. I apologize about that. So, but yeah, as far as paint, definitely get you some good brushes. Don't go out and that's one thing you don't want to just don't go out and buy those cheap little, watercolor brushes or whatever like that. Get out and get you some decent brushes. They don't have to be the most expensive ones. They don't have to be like the $30 brushes or anything like that. But there's some nice brush sets that I use that were cheap for like 15-20 dollars on Amazon. And that's a good thing to have. I mean, just spend a little bit extra money on some brushes. You'll thank me later for it. Um, so have I tried using regular hobby paints, using quite a bit and they're cheap? Yeah, we were just talking about those. Um, I use those for a lot of base work because there is a lot of that paint in there. But when it comes to detailing and stuff, I just really prefer to use my Vallejo and stuff whenever I'm putting stuff through an airbrush or doing extra detail work and everything. So yeah, extra thumb drives are good to have. I will tell you this: what I do with my printers when I get a new printer in, I immediately ditch that flash drive and I go to another one because everyone on every printer that I've had has failed at some point. And it's usually within the first few prints that you do. So I always have some extra ones on hand. Um, Colony Weirdos, is Elegoo Saturn a good starter for Marvel statues? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's you know, one of the top printers out there right now, and it's actually very inexpensive right now. So go out and take a look at those. Um, some more, um, some more things that you would need for painting. Of course, you're going to need thinner or water. If you're using water, my recommendation is to use distilled water because it just dries really I mean, it dries better when it dry. When I say dries better, it dries more consistent than regular water. Water will dry with some splotches on it every now and then, especially whenever you paint a larger piece. So look at some distilled water. It's good, evenly drying medium. Um, let's see what are really good small brushes. So I do have a link in the description for an Amazon affiliate link. If you're looking for really good detail brushes, Tamiya has some really nice ones, and I think I have links for those below as well. But I use those for stuff like eyes and really tight features, eyelashes, really get in good detail stuff. So um, absolutely. Let's see here. Flow Improver really helps on the airbrush. So yeah, if you are an airbrush user, and that's not a necessity to paint models, but if you want to be an airbrush user, definitely get you some Flow Improver. Definitely get you some thinner. I use thinner more than I do water because thinner actually dries a little quicker than water. And whenever airbrush and stuff, I definitely I want it to dry as quickly as possible. Hello, Bruce. How are you doing, sir? Um, so let's see here. Got a set of Squidmar brushes. Backed his Kickstarter. Great brushes. He's got a good channel. I mean, he's a very talented dude. So yeah, Steve says some Winsor Newton brushes are really good. I only have a few that I use more. So And they're a little bit more higher end brushes, but they're not over the top. Artist Opus has some really good brushes, but man, they're expensive. But they're really good. They're really good brushes. I think they're a little overhyped, but they're still pretty good. With paint also, I mean, if you're going to go, if you don't want to do airbrushing and you just want to do just regular brushing, um, I would look into some pastels. It's not a necessity, but you will be able to shade and enrich certain areas and stuff within you could with an airbrush. So I use both. I mean, so whenever I'm doing shading with airbrush, there's sometimes areas that are really small that I just don't feel like really messing with because I'll screw it up. But I'll actually get in there with some pastels. I've seen only a handful of people that can take a regular paintbrush and really do some good transition work with it into some really in-depth shading. It's very hard to do. I can't do it. I can't do it well. I can use some wet blending and stuff like that, but it takes a lot of work to do, and I'd rather not. I'm proficient with the airbrush, so I use the airbrush. Um, let's see here. Daryl says, I'd say get a good airbrush gun. So I got a cheap kit and upgraded to an Awada, and it's night and day. So yeah, I got an Awada too. I just got a new needle and a good tip for it because I've have been using it for a while. I think it's the Eclipse, but I bought a little $40 airbrush from Amazon, and I still use it. I use the hell out of that thing. Um, Paul, that's kind of yeah, question hit right on. So, yeah, as far as an airbrush, yeah, I want to make some really good ones. I just use a little master airbrush. Again, a link below in the description. But I've been using that one for quite some time, and it works good for me. I am one of those who thinks that who doesn't think that you have to go out and spend $200 or $300 for an airbrush. I'm not going to do it. I went and bought one a few years ago and I got like 3 or 4 uses out of it and this thing clogged up and it just gunked and it's sitting over here in its little case and stuff like that. It's a little pretty case and I haven't used it since, man. It was just a bad expensive lesson, I guess you could say. Badger Patriot, yeah, I have actually got a Patriot. It needs to be cleaned out. Long story, but I've just been lazy. I haven't been, haven't cleaned it out in quite some time. Yeah, H&S are very nice, but very pricey. The Infinity, yeah, is ridiculous. So I think it was, I can't remember something Geraldez or whatever his name is, did his signature line from H&S, I think it was, and beautiful airbrush. But I am not paying $500 for an airbrush. Sorry, not gonna do that. Um, so other things that you would essentially need for painting is you're going to need a palette. Whether you want to use a wet palette or a dry palette is totally up to you. In the beginning, I used paper plates. I put paint on there and mixed it through there. But as the years went by and I got older, I just went to Hobby Lobby and got a stack of these dry palettes for like $3.99. I get like 7 or 8 of them, and works just fine. So you can do that. Um, you can also use like a wet palette. I did a video for a wet palette. To be honest with you, I don't use it very much. I mean, a lot of people do in mini work and stuff like that. But with me, what I do, because I am mixing up so much, uh, an abundance of a color and stuff. I mean, I sit there and mix up this crap on a wet palette time and time again, and it would just take forever to do. Yeah, Steve. So dollar store palettes all day long. Absolutely, you could use that. Um, so yeah, I mean, very true. Um, Daryl believes in a wet palette. So I mean, like I said, it's just really a preference. I'm a dry palette person. I think more of a than anything. Whenever I mix up a lot of paints, like I will do a single color on a model, mostly black or something like that. I just paint thinner in a little mixing cup. And that's one thing that I think you got to have too. I don't think it's an essential, but it's definitely one of those things that you want to look into, and that's mixing cups. Go to Walmart or something like that and get you like a 200 pack of those Dixie cups or whatever you want to call them, and just when you get done with them, throw them away. No need washing them out or anything like that. They're disposable, so just get rid of it. Um, yeah, wet palettes are for doing detail work. I just don't want to go through it. um, let's see. JC Chan says, any advice for someone with no painting experience looking to get into building and painting filament prints? So yeah, definitely. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about right now. I would say um, preparation is key. Whether you're using FDM or resin, the biggest thing is you want to get your surface where it will accept the paint very well. It may sound stupid for me to say that, but if you just have a print that just comes off a printer and you just throw some paint on it, no primer or anything like that, you're just asking for a hurting. But definitely prep your prints. There's a couple of videos I done on those as well. Sanding, filling, different things like that. You put in the time to print this and the money to print it. You just want to make it look good. So definitely look into that. And good primer. I use a Color Max primer from Krylon. It's a rattle can primer. To me, it's really good. I use it all the time. And then, like I said, when it comes to paint, just there's all kinds of stuff out there, all kinds of choices. So just look into it. Steve says my wet palette has a plant growing out of it or a fungus. You know what? I mean, no kidding. If you got to watch those, because if they keep them too wet or whatever like that, you'll get mold and stuff in there. And that's another reason why I don't use mine. It's just a lot of mold. So I opened up mine not too long ago, and it was just mold growing in it, and so yeah. Yeah. So if you're doing FDM prints, uh, like Joseph here says, get some sandable primer, lots and lots of sandpaper, different grits. You're going to have to break this stuff down really good, and then you're going to have to smooth it out and go into higher grits and stuff as you go along. So definitely, the 2-in-1 primer is great for FDM. I mean, it's got a high build on it. It'll help fill up some of the cracks and crevices and stuff like that, maybe some of the lines. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to that's one reason why I stepped away from FDM, because there's so much preparation time that you have to do in order to get your prints looking good. And so, I mean, resin to me is there's no substitute for it. There are some guys out there that do some killer FDM work. I mean, I'm not saying they can't be done, but yeah, it takes a lot of elbow grease to get a really good print. Um, Rust-Oleum Peel Coat helps fill in those deep layer lines of sprayable rubber. Yeah, I've used that. The problem is it what it says. It's a peel coat, and that stuff will peel off, especially if it gets into high heat or even cold. It'll actually start peeling back or flaking. So you kind of watch that. Wood filler on your FDM prints, yes. So I use this plastic filler. I was at Walmart yesterday and they had it back in stock. I ordered some through Amazon, which again, there's an affiliate link. Shameless plug. But they had it in stock again. It's like $7. It's the best stuff I've ever used. It's really good. I've got some of it around here somewhere. It's not within reach, but I've shown you guys videos with it in there before. Um, so other things as far as when it comes to painting, um, I mean, if you're a masker, get you some masking tape. I don't mask off anything. I hate it. I've expressed my dis dislove for it. I loathe masking off. I'd rather hand paint that crap. Dat plastic wood. That's what it is. Yeah, Steve, it's really good stuff. I stay away from the Bondo and spot glaze putty. It gets hot sometimes, and on FDM it's fine, but on resin it can warp it if you're not careful, especially if you're using it in an abundance. So be careful when you're doing that. The DAP plastic wood filler, it dries really quickly. It's easily sandable. and it's awesome. I mean, you can get the lowest or the faintest of lines gone, or the deepest cracks and crevices. So I really love it. That's what I've been using for quite some time now. Um, I would definitely say a couple of other things if we were looking into painting. We went through mixing cups, we went through brushes, we went through the paint itself. I would look into getting to some type of, you know, glasses, or like some type of bifocals, or whatever you want to call it, magnifying glasses or whatever, especially when you're doing detail work, because it's just going to make your work that much easier. If you do detail work like I do, I mean, I've got these, again, affiliate link in below, but I've got these glasses are like 20 bucks. They have switch out lenses, which is awesome. You can get, I think, as freaking close as you want to on it, where you can see your own soul. And they even have lights on them. So, I mean, you can get some really cool stuff. You can really get into some good detail work by using those. Not, again, not a necessity, but once you start painting detail work, I think it becomes a necessity if you want to, have a good paint up on there. Green stuff and different types of putties and clays. Yeah, I use green stuff in the beginning, and the one thing that I found with resin prints is even after you cure them, they can become tacky on certain resin brands. I know any cubic, it will really become tacky, and it's just got that weird feel to it. So I stayed away from that. Um, uh, Joseph got a set of those glasses after I talked about them and love them. I mean, I'm telling you, they're awesome. I would be lost without them because my eyesight is. I need to go to the eye doctor. It's getting a lot worse. But I hate even driving at nighttime now, guys. I mean, so yeah. So yeah, I got an affiliate link down there below for those glasses. If you guys want to check them out, I can think they're like 20 bucks on Amazon. You can't go wrong with them. Um, Oh, one thing that I got that I just wasn't sure if it was necessary, but for me it is. That's a vortex mixer. Holy crap, those things are awesome. I love those things. You know how many times you sit around and shake your paint up like this and your arm is like jello after a while? But man, I got one of those and I love it. I've been mixing up. I sat down one day and I mixed up like every paint thing, every paint pot that I had. I just wanted to. I just wanted to, and I hate the stuff that sits on the bottom. I mixed up everything. And it was so yeah, if you happen to have a chance to get a vortex mixer, get one. The ball bearing in the paint didn't work for me, Jerry. I'm telling you, this vortex mixer was it. I had ball bearings in some of these paints, and they still get stuck on the bottom. You still get that sludge and everything like that, but that mixer did the trick. Um, yeah, here, Daryl, you're right, Daryl. So here's a good point right here. Also, if you're not using a workbench, make sure you cover and protect your work area. Yeah, I would say like if you got a desk or something, and this is what one thing I'm going to do with the paint area that I got here now is I'm going to get some butcher paper and kind of lay out. That way, I don't have to worry about making a mess and cleaning it up. When I get done, I just crumble it up, throw it away. So that's definitely one of those things that you might want to look into. Get a big roll of that stuff and tape it down. Yeah, and my wife has just made sure to chime in, especially for the floor, because man, I tell you what, I was on hands and knees with paint thinner and floor stripper and everything else, cleaning this corner out from where I just neglected it. I really did, and I hate myself for it. But I had paint everywhere. I mean, I had paint splattered everywhere, but I got it all clean. So I'm going to put something on the floor to protect it from here on out. Yeah, and if you're a messy painter, like Sweet Tooth says, get an apron. Um, I use old shirts, so and this is a necessity. I think it is a necessity. Old clothes, especially if you're painting. I've got like pants that look like they have been through the ringer, look like you've like splattered paint all over them, and but holes everywhere, and shirts the same way. So whenever I get into painting, I get out of my good clothes, especially like work clothes and stuff, and even shoes. I mean, I change my shoes into some old shoes or whatever. I should probably start using an apron, but but anyway, that way you don't get it all over yourself. Again, paper towels, you're going to need a lot of those. Yeah, Joseph, you're right. Not old clothes, paint clothes. Steve says those are his good clothes. Only Steve would figure that. I hate to see what you wear. Oh man. Uh yeah, I mean, the ball bearing just doesn't work for by itself for me. I mean, I still get stuff kind of gooped up on the bottom. I feel like I can get more out of it with this Vortex mixer, but definitely if you put the ball bearing and the Vortex mixer, you can't go wrong with that. So that's something to look into. Um, absolutely. So, there's those are most of those are essentials. Some of them are not. Definitely, if you get an airbrush, you're going to need a compressor. You're going to need an airbrush. You're going to need some sort of system or whatever like that to actually spray your paint in. You're going to need a paint pot to throw that in. Don't want to be spraying it all over just to get it out. So definitely look into that. I would look into a nice, quiet, small airbrush. You don't have to have one of these big 4 foot monsters. That's way too much. Get you something with a regulator on it and a water trap. That way you can actually, you can set your PSI and you get some water in your paint. You can depressurize it and everything. So yeah, I mean, I would look into something like that. Um, Model car 1589. How's it going, my friend? How are you doing? Alligator clips and rods for small parts. Yeah, absolutely. If you're painting small pieces, I would definitely, I recommend those. I have tons of them, and you can find them pretty much everywhere. Um, like kebab skewers that you get at the grocery store. I use those too to put on, small pieces. Um, Styrofoam, like whenever I get like a printer or something like that in, I save the styrofoam so that way I can put the stuff in there and I mean, it works just fine. So I mean, you don't have to go out and specifically buy something. See what do you got here? Joseph, I switched to the Typhoon paint mixer. You can mix everything from your small paint containers all the way up to large spray paint cans. Interesting. Yeah, that would, I mean, if that's what your thing is, I don't have any big spray cans or anything like that. I mean, I've got paint cans that I use. I don't really need to put those on the mixer because they're all aerosol. So, but yeah, I mean, like my Tamiya paints, my Vallejo paints, even my craft paints that I use or whatever, this mixer I've got works really, really good. All right. Have a good night, Bubba Richards. Um, so, what model airbrush do I use? We talked about that a little earlier. So, I'm just using a little $30, $40 master airbrush from Amazon. I do have an Iwata Eclipse that I just got some parts for. That's a good one too. So, I'm going to be using that one here before too long as well. So, there's all kinds of airbrushes you can get. I just don't think you have to spend a lot of money on one. Um, Let me see here. Do you need a water trap on the airbrush if it's already on the compressor as well? I don't think so. I've never used one on the airbrush because it puts extra weight on the airbrush, and I just want to make sure it's pretty well balanced. To me, they're just really bulky. I've seen them, but I really don't think that you have to use one. If your compressor's got one, then I think you should be sufficient enough to use that. I just don't see that you would need it. There's really just no need for one. Um, so paint wise, I mean, you you can get like stuff like pink soap or whatever like that to clean your brushes with. It's really really good. Again, make sure you clean your airbrush and your brushes, on a regular basis, preferably after every time you use them. I don't break down my airbrush except for maybe once a week, once every other week, or if I need to, something really just gets gooped up in there, which happens sometimes, then I'll break it down. But other than that, I usually I just clean it out, after I use it. Definitely don't set your airbrush down when you're done painting or whatever, and just leave it. I mean, I've done that once on accident. It's not pretty, especially when you have to go in and clean that thing. It just, then you're talking where you have to get some type of, what am I thinking? Some type of uh, cleaner solution or whatever like that. Help me out here, guys. But anyway, yeah, make sure you clean your stuff out. Um, Stir sticks would be another thing. I use like a popsicle sticks. One thing that you can do to save on money with those, like I go buy like a box of like 1,000 at the hobby store. They're usually like $10, $12 or whatever. However, like one thing that you can do, take some clippers and clip them in the middle and just break them apart. That way you get two sticks out of one if you want to start doing stirs. I mean, if you want to save money, that's an easy way to do. That's that's just what I do. um, Daryl says, just noticed in the background, second row, first cube. Is that a model of Celine? Yes, sir, it is. I have actually two Celine models. That one I have to finish printing the base for it. It actually dropped and smashed into a few pieces, so I got to reprint that one. Do I use acetone to clean my airbrush? No, I use distilled water and I use thinner. I use airbrush thinner, I should say, not like paint thinner. Paint thinner is actually a little harsh because there is actually a little ring, a little plastic O-ring in your airbrush, and it can dry that thing out if you're not careful. So make sure that I don't use acetone. They can use that. It can have an effect on that too. And then the next thing you know, when you go spray your airbrush, you just got a big blob of paint that just sprays out all at once. So yeah, I just use just airbrush thinner. Let me see. Bruce, geez, Bruce, biggest print is Robot FTM printed in white and black. Pet G is 6 feet 3 inches tall. Took over a year to print. Ooh, I have yet to print a full size print, but it's coming. And when you guys are going to be like, like, what the hell is he doing now? I know my wife is going to be like, oh my God, she probably can't wait till I get this room 100% finished. That way, if I want to print something big or whatever like that, I got room for it. Yeah, Salvador. Yeah, acetone is harsh as well. I mean, I wouldn't use acetone in a airbrush. But yeah, I use just distilled water. I mean, and just airbrush thinner. Yes, dear, I know I have a backlog. I have tons of stuff to paint. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about it on the live streams and in the videos and stuff. I mean, I have so much stuff I've got to paint. But I mean, this room is going to be allowing me to get everything done. So, like what you see back here right now, everything is just thrown up here because I've got all these bestas. I've got bestas around this side here. I'm still waiting to get my my HVAC system, my mini split installed, and then I'm going to have all my printers back here on the back wall, and then on this side right here, I'm going to have more statues, and I'm going to have my photography station area, and I'm also going to have a desk or I should say a table or a stand or whatever, so I can do like printer reviews and stuff like that because I have a few printers I need to review. So yeah, I hear you. What person in our hobby doesn't have a pile of shame or backlog? There are a few people out there that go to an extreme, and I'm one. So I mean, there's a pile of shame and a backlog thing. I mean, but there's tons of stuff that I have. It's not even funny. It's so much. So yeah, I mean, we can get into all kinds of the little things that you need for painting and everything. But just beware of like you'll have people say, "Oh, you need this, you need that." Just use good judgment about what you really need for printing and painting, because it is expensive starting out. Even like if you were to go out and say, "I want to start painting models," and you need to go out and buy like these big sets and stuff from like um, Army Painter has these big massive sets that are $300. Those are great and everything if you're a little experienced, but you don't have to go out and buy all that stuff. I mean, there's just no need in it. If that's what you want to do, then that's your money. I mean, I can't tell somebody what to do with their money, but definitely, if you're on a budget, I mean, I think I did a video about if you're on a budget, stuff that you can get, but you can, there's some things that you don't need to get. I mean, and you'll see this real gimmicky stuff out there. Just stay away from it. Uh, yeah, Joseph. So my, I have the room that I'm coming out of is completely full. That's why I'm actually pushing this as hard and as fast as I can to get this room all set up, is because I'm out of room. I mean, I have so much stuff. I mean, if I take everything out of this room and set it up in here with all of the with everything that I've got to paint, I would probably have 50 statues, and that's extreme. So I mean, don't do what Henry did. Don't go out and do all that. But yeah. So so let's talk a little bit about the room and some of the things that I'm doing. I am making a video on part 2 of it to talk about a little bit more of it. Because I can't really make videos right now showing you like tutorials and things while I'm in this transition. Um, but we'll talk a little bit about it. Here we go, Sweet Tooth. How high is the ceiling in my new space? Only have 8-foot ceilings. It's not very tall. I don't need something really tall. Especially with a mini split here, I don't want to run just a hellacious utility bill, with really high ceilings or whatever. My wife says the enclosed garage man cave I'm moving into is honestly too small for everything. No, it's not. No, it's not. Uh, um, Joseph, have a ton of miniatures. I just recently got into statues. My wife says, "Thank you, Henry." I'm sure she said thank you, probably with the one gun salute. I think I hear my wife in there saying that, disagreeing with me when I said it's not too small for everything. It's not too small for everything. Everything will work just fine. I have a ton of stuff in boxes. True. Now, with all I packed up all my Punisher collection, and I'm sitting there looking at the boxes right now. I probably have about 15 large boxes of stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I've been collecting Punisher collectibles since 1986, and I've amassed probably one of the largest collections that you'll see out there of just Punisher stuff. But sometimes you got to move on. This right here, I'm enjoying this hobby too much, and I want room for it to make you guys better videos and live streams and stuff like that. So that's what we're doing. But I'll find somewhere for it to go. Yes. So anyway, so about the room, where I'm sitting at right now is a desk that I made out of 4 Bestas. So I got 2 of the double Bestas. They're showcases on the front. They got doors and glass. They actually have statues in them. They have 2 singles on this side. So this table here, you can't really see it right now, but it is massive. It is 4 feet long out and 8 feet long. I call it my Tony Montana table. So I love it. It's got all the space here that I need. So actually right now my camera is like right within like 12 inches in front of me, and so is my mic. But I have plenty of space. I can really back up, I mean, I'm backed away from the camera a little bit. I have to be careful because I do have some statues here in the floor, but we're a good, 4 feet back from here. As I said before, I'll be doing some videos here in my paint area. I'll turn the camera around a little bit. I did earlier, but for you guys who are on here now, this is like my paint corner. Got all my paints up there. Got my airbrush. I got my paint booth over here with extraction system. I haven't hooked that up yet, but I'm going to be, like I said, you're going to be seeing that in the video. And I'm going to be doing a video on that because this extraction system is really cool. You can use it to enclose printers and use that to get rid of the fume smell or anything like that in there as well. So stay tuned for that one. But I got my airbrush over here. I got my models that I'm printing. I did my little Netflix display up here at the top because I love the Punisher and Daredevil Netflix series, and it's actually coming back. So I'm excited about that one. But everything is accessible here. And then I don't have anything on this other side yet because I still have stuff I need to move. So, um, do I make my own washes or do I purchase them? So that's a good question, Paul. So you can make your own washes. However, Vallejo has some really good ones. They're not. I mean, they're really, really good. I mean, they're already pre-mixed and stuff. So I just bought a few of those at the local hobby shop. They're like $4 or $5 for a pot, and they last me a while. So, yeah. But yeah, so you can make your own, mix your own washes if you want. I do that occasionally, but for the most part, I just buy whatever Vallejo has. Let's see here. Is Kim one of the hobbits? Oh, my wife is kind of short. Thank you, Dauntless. Love the new setup. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Let's see what Darren says here. What is the best way to paint an FDM model if you want to keep the base color of the filament, but you want other parts painted different colors? Mask it off. I mean, you can use saran wrap it up. You can mask it off. You can do all sorts of things like that. That's what I'd probably do. Silly putty, liquid mask, which that stuff is, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Um, so yeah, I mean, you can do that as well. Um, so what else do I have finished over here? I've got my ceiling is painted black. I still have some areas right here that I have to do to paint. I've got this brick veneer over here on this side of the wall to kind of give it a little bit of character. I'll do some videos from the paint area every now and then, and plus I'll do them from here. But I did this right here. I did this large desk not only to do YouTube videos and live streams, but I want to feature some of the statues that I make, and I like swapping them out and everything like that. It gives me plenty of room to do everything that I want to do. So if I have like a product I want to show you guys, and I've got plenty of room right here to show you. But I have detolfs on this side of the room here. I've got about 12 detolfs over here, and they house my smaller statues. I collect 1/6 scale articulated collectibles and stuff. I collect that stuff. All kinds of like my Bowen models, my Bowen statues that are smaller. I will never buy another Detolf again. Have you guys seen the price of those things? When I bought all mine, they were $59.99 a piece. Now my wife and I went to IKEA the other day. They're $130. Oh my God. That is crazy. $130 for a little small glass Detolf. So yeah. Um, so what I plan on doing is with my printers, I am going to put them on muscle racks. I'm going to try to enclose them to where I can use one of these extraction systems on there so I can get rid of some of these fumes. Because I have about 15 printers, and I run a lot of them a lot of the time together. So I don't want to be overwhelming. You know what I mean? Especially where my house is and stuff. I mean, it got pretty overwhelming at times, especially with certain resins that I used. So you definitely want to. I definitely want to be smelling that stuff while I'm in this room all the time. Um, So let's see. Joseph says the advantage I have with miniatures is that I can put a couple of hundred miniatures in a box. I have a few thousand miniatures. um, let's see here. Yeah, so that's a good point, Joseph. Prime all your FDM, even your resin prints. If you just go in and use paint, I mean, you're running the risk of this stuff peeling off. So, so yeah, most people are using decals for the eyes on their models. What do you think of the decal eyes? I've actually got some from one of my people that I know on one of my Facebook friends, and he sent me some water slides, and I haven't tried them yet. To me, they look totally unnatural. They'd be great for somebody that has trouble painting eyes. But I just find it to be more trouble than it's worth. I mean, because the eyes are perfectly round and you got somebody squinting, you got to put that decal in there and you have to like cut it out or whatever in order for it to fit. So I think it's kind of want to be one of those things that it's a little bit more trouble than it's worth. But I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try it and see. Um, it's kind of the one of those things where you're having trouble painting eyes. I mean, of course, you got to come up with something. So I mean, I don't blame people for doing that. Um, so let's see here. Any other questions? But yeah, my shed has arrived. So I got to put it together probably this coming weekend where I can get a lot of this crap out of here, out of this room. And once I do that, the room will actually be moving along a lot faster. But I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now. The paint corner is pretty much done. I got some detailing to do. The desk, I got to paint the top. Um, do things like that. I got to trim it out. I'm actually going to put a clear epoxy coating over it. I think that'll look pretty neat. I'm probably going to do some graphic over the top of it. Nothing that's going to be taking it away from the when I start doing more of the live streams and when the camera angle is going to be back or whatever like that. So absolutely, I'll definitely making sure that um, it'll look good. Um, Will my shed be climate controlled? The one that I'm putting in my backyard, no, it's not going to be climate controlled, but I'm not going to be putting anything in there it's going to get, that's going to get ruined. Basically what I have in here right now is I have stuff like, I've got Halloween decorations. I have a 12-foot skeleton we have in our front yard every Halloween. It's in a big box. I have a bunch of paint, tools, and power tools and things like that that are just sitting in here because I have nowhere to put them. And that's pretty much what's going to go out there. I think I have a pressure pot, a bigger compressor, things like that. It's just outside tools and stuff, like my wife just said. So that's what we're gonna be using the shed for. Everything else is gonna be in here. All the statues, all the printers, all of my collections and everything like that. I'm not going to put that out there in the shed, but that will free up a lot of space in here for me to use. And I actually would love to have, somebody's out in the area and stuff like that, some people over and, maybe do a live stream with me. I might have some friends over and stuff, and I can do that out here. I can't do that in the other room where I was pretty much cramped up. And it got to be to the point. That's why a couple of the live streams, I had the background, the fake background, because it just got to be so crowded, and I had to stop. So absolutely, um, yeah. The stuff that's going in the shed that's just to get rid of all this stuff that's in here that it shouldn't be in here to begin with. Um, your wife wants you to get an Amish built shed for your new office. We have a few options here in Cincinnati. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I have my shed was just delivered today, matter of fact. Just it's all in a big box. I have to put it together because the opening that going on the side of my house is very narrow. And we can't just move a shed back there. They can't load one back there. And then my backyard now butts up to ball fields, baseball fields. And I've lived here in this house for 16 years, And I guess about just a few years ago, they started building baseball fields. And when I'm talking about, they're like right up to our back of our yard. I mean, you can, like, at the end of my fence is probably about another 20 feet. That's where the ball field is. That's where center field is. So they can't go back there to, put a shed back there either. So we're just going to build one. My wife and I, and my son said he's going to come over and help out. So hopefully we'll get that done pretty quickly. But I'm excited about it. Absolutely. Um, so yeah, I will be doing, when I get this all done, I'll do a full room tour. I know a lot of people have been asking about that for probably like a year now. But we'll do probably maybe a two-part video. We'll go through, I'll show you everything. Everything should be set up. I'll have all the lights, because I'm going to have this thing lit up like a Roman candle in here, guys. I'm going to have doors on all the Bestas. That's going to take a little bit because they're so damned expensive now. You're talking like $1,000 just for doors. So first things first, I got to crawl before I can walk. But I'll have everything set up here. I'll go through and we'll do a video where we go through all the collection, show you what I do collect, some of the stuff that I've worked on, where it came from or what have you or whatever. And we'll do a full tour video of it. I know a lot of people have been asking about it. And I know the collection videos are pretty popular among people, among collectors. They really like them. So, um, good question, Joseph. So, in my new space that I had to run in additional electricity for all the machines. So, um, I don't have to, but I'm going to. So I'm going to be running a couple of extra outlets and stuff. But I have outlets already set up, but I don't want to put too much pressure on them. I'm running very low voltage right now here in this room, so all the machines can take it. Compared, because I was using it in the other room too. But these things are low voltage machines. They're really not sucking up a lot of energy. The biggest thing that's going to consume a lot of volts and a lot of energy and stuff is the mini split. But the printers are really, I'm too worried about them. Um, yeah, but that's a good question though. Definitely, when you get your area set up, make sure that you're running enough electricity through there because, depending on what you use, I mean, you could use a lot of uh, amperage and volts and stuff like that. Are you going use standard 15 amp or going up to 20 amps? Oh, it's already set at 20 amps. And on this side over here where the mini split is, it's already set to 20 amps. Everything else is 15. So yeah, I had this done years ago. I have an air conditioning unit in here right now that doesn't work, but I had it upgraded to a 20 amp, and everything else is 15. So absolutely. So yeah, I'm excited to get this all done for you guys. I mean, and let me tell you, I couldn't have done it without you guys. My Patreon is huge with me. I mean, if any of you are on I mean, a lot of these guys here are in my Patreon community. And I apologize that I haven't been too active in it here in the past few days or the past week. But we go all out on there, man. I mean, we talk about this, that, and the other. Everybody's real friendly. They love to help each other out. But more importantly, these are the guys who help support this channel financially most of the time because I couldn't afford to do everything that I do, out of my own hip pocket. I mean, doing videos and going through all this stuff and painting a lot of this stuff and using the resin that I use. I don't have paid sponsors. I do have some companies that will come in and send me products and everything like that. But, I mean, my Patreon is a huge godsend, and we also have the super thanks in here too as well. I can go and do the whole membership thing, but I'm not sold on that yet because to me that's kind of I work a full-time job already, and the last thing I want to do is work another full-time job. Well, what this pretty much is anyway. But if I start doing memberships and everything like that, that's more content that I got to put out, and it's just not fair to do that. So I concentrate more on my Patreon right now. But yeah, but we definitely have the super thanks that People can donate through that way as well. But the biggest thing is just watching the videos, guys. I mean, that's the biggest way you can support the channel. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't noticed, we just crushed 14,000 subscribers. So I'm really proud of that. I'm real excited about that. Um, Executor, hello. I like the name. Very cool. Um, Daryl, hopefully you can get some good ideas. Well, I mean, hopefully, yeah. I mean, I'm not really doing anything special out of the ordinary. I'm just making it comfortable for me to come in here and paint and print. That way I can utilize my house for my house. Because one thing I have said that before is a lot of this stuff runs in my house, and I definitely, I mean, that's my family time in there, and I really want to make it more of a family oriented house. I mean, we're a bunch of nerds that live here, but I mean, there's a fine line between getting overrun and just enough where you're just comfortable with it. I just want to make sure that everything's comfortable. Plus, my son's moving back in August, and I want to make sure that everybody has their space. So Sergeant Digital hit 426 subscribers. Congratulations, sir! Awesome. It's coming along, man. All you got to do is just put in the work and put out some good content and get people to get people to keep coming back, give them something to come back with, and hopefully that's what we're doing here. So any more questions from you guys regarding painting, printing, or just anything that you have? Please put them in the comments now. We're going on an hour and 21 minutes, and I'm kind of running out of things to talk about. Plus, I got to still eat supper. But anyway, I hope you got something out of this live cast, this live stream here. If you have any ideas of anything that you would like to see a video made of or whatever, tutorial, paint up, or whatever like that, let me know. You can comment in the videos. You can comment in the live stream. Every comment that comes through, I read them. So absolutely, let me know what you guys want to see. Daryl says, I'd love you to paint the board queen from Star Trek, all them blacks and green. I don't know much about the board queen. I guess I can look into it and see. What's for supper? Yes, sir. What's for supper? Tonight is ravioli pasta. It's I got some of this stuff, pre-made meal from Sprouts, and so I'm going to eat one of those tonight. Am I going to be doing the Deadpool and Cable diorama? That is a good question. Yeah, I will be doing it eventually. I still have to finish the Cable from Alvaro Stuardo. So, absolutely. Let's see. All right, cool. Did you ever work on the Wicked Hulkbuster versus Hulk? I am working on it. It's still a work in progress. I have had this thing printed up for over a year now. So, yeah. I'm slacking on my nerd card because I don't know much about the Borg Queen. Look, guys, I am so sorry, but I do not want. I was Star Wars, not Star Trek. So I was a Star Wars nerd. I didn't get into much Star Trek. I mean, because I just couldn't stand William Shatner. We've come this far into a brand new. I don't. He's way over the top for me. So yeah, I am slacking a little bit on the nerd card. Sorry, but uh, and I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. I know I get asked almost every live stream since it was released, but the Lord of the Rings, the Gandalf and the Balrog. I knew she's going to say something about it, but that whole diorama, yes, I'm going to probably print it, but everybody's been busting my balls because I have not seen the first Lord of the Rings movie. All right, pile it on in the comments. I know you guys are going to. Oh, so yeah. Uh yeah, Picard is a better captain. I have to agree with that. but I have not seen any of the Lord of the Rings movies. So I've been told, my wife and my son and a few of my Patreon members have said I cannot paint that or print that diorama yet until I at least see one of these movies. And so, here we go. That's okay. I have so much I have to paint and finish printing anyway. It's going to be crazy. But that thing is massive, and um, some people have done some really good jobs on them. I've seen quite a bit. Um, Glass Joe says it's boring as hell. I'm not missing anything. What's boring, Joe? Is it the Star Trek or is it the Lord of the Rings movies? Because you might get crucified on this live stream here if you say the wrong one. So yeah, I think my wife and my son are scheduling a binge fest on these movies. Some of these things are like 3 hours long. I don't. If they suck, I don't want to sit through a 3 hour suckage movie. Ugh. But I have read The Hobbit back in when I was a kid, um, and I really like the J.R.R. Tolkien stuff. So yeah, but oh, Lord of the Rings is boring as hell. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I've heard that though. You're not the first one to say anything about that, so I'm sure my wife and a lot of people will disagree with you, but I'll tell you, if it's boring, I'll cut it off in the middle of it. I just won't. I just won't watch it. I'm sorry, Bruce. No Lord of the Rings, no Star Trek. Now I have watched Star Trek. Now I've seen all the Star Trek movies. I've seen a lot of the TV series. I'm just not into it. Um, the Hobbit cartoon was the best of it all. You're right. I actually like the Hobbit movie cartoon. I remember that from a long time ago. Um, so my wife said the second movie is just running across fields, but I still have to watch it. One and three are good. Okay, so um, oh, I'm so behind on movies and stuff. I mean, it's just yeah. What was the Game of Thrones? Hadn't seen the first episode. I take that back. I'm sorry. I seen like the next to the last one, and I was just over it. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't get into it. It just wasn't for me. And I know everybody's probably. I've heard that everybody just hates the last episode or whatever, and people are just going nuts over it. Um, any plans on doing some World of Warcraft figures? I would like to, but the larger size. Now, I'm not going to be doing any miniatures. No, this there's plenty of other miniature channels out there for that sort of thing. Get some South Park paint jobs, like Cartman and South Park stuff like that. That's just not my thing. I mean, screw you guys, I'm going home. No, I just never got into South Park either. Beavis and Butthead, never got into Beavis and Butthead. Ren and Stimpy, nope. Now, Pinky and the Brain. If you're talking about Pinky and the Brain, then I'm all about that. That's the Pinky and the Brain. So yeah, I love Pinky and the Brain. Love me some old school cartoons. I'd love to do some Popeye, Flintstones, things like that. Still looking at different looking at different anime stuff. I mean, there's some stuff out there that just oh man, there's just so much I can't decide. Um, Maybe send some hints to Berserk about World of Warcraft figures. I think they are going to be. Ooh, I didn't say anything. um, have I tried folk art terracotta textured paint? Yeah, I actually have, and it's pretty cool. The folk art stuff, I really like their metallic stuff. It's pretty neat. I've got some really good stuff, really good finishes out of there. Actually, the wall of this back here, I got a guy to mix up some of that um, in for me that based off one of those metallic things, metallic tubes or whatever, like metallic paint sets or whatever. And that's what I actually painted this wall back here. It's like a silver metallic. Ren and Stimpy didn't get in here. Is who in here tonight? Are you talking about Gabriel? I don't know if Gabriel's in here or not. We only have like 33 people here. Okay, cool. No, I don't think Gabriel's in here. He said he was going to watch it, but he may watch it later. Gabriel, if you're out there, hi. Let us know you're here. Say hello to everybody. But I think for the most part, I think Gabriel's been just so busy. I barely talk to him anymore. I like to try and find out the up and up on what's coming out and everything. But like I said, he's just been so busy. I call him the hardest working man in Patreon. So he's definitely the cool people are in the chat tonight. Yeah, we got Sweet Tooth, we got Daryl, we got Joseph, we got Mark, we got Executor, we got my wife. My wife says it sounds like I'm holding a seance. Oh, all right, guys. I think it's probably time to get out of here, go eat some supper, and spend some time with the missus, and hope this was a good live stream for you. Thanks for coming out and hanging out and everything. And the next one will probably have a couple of guests on. I'm trying to line up some newer people for you guys. That way you can get to meet some other people in the community and everything. Some people that I talk with, and maybe some different Patreon owners. So absolutely cool. And yeah, next patron goal should be the Creative Collector Watch Lord of the Rings trilogy. That's a goal. So I give you my word. I'm actually going to try and watch some of these movies. And I'm telling you, if I don't think they're any good, I'm not going to spend the time on them. But anyway, guys, hey, thank you for coming out tonight and wasting some of your time with me and hanging out and everything. I hope I answered some of your questions. I know we had a new person on here looking to get into 3D printing and painting. And if we could just reach that one person, that's all it takes to spiral off and get more people into the hobby and everything. And that's what this whole thing is about. So absolutely, guys, thank you for all your participation tonight. And look for the newest video coming out. Hopefully I get it done, edited tonight, and it'll be released tomorrow. But it'll be on the talking a little bit more about what I've been doing here and in the room here. So again, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the supports from you guys, and hopefully this was a little bit better live stream, a little bit better connection and everything like that. And it's still a work in progress. So all right, guys. So everybody have a good night. You know the drill. Stay safe out there. Print, paint, repeat. And until the next live stream, we'll see you. Good night, everybody. Peace.